Okay, we are recording now, and we'll go ahead and get started. Share my screen. George, let's go to our Father in prayer before we begin. Father in heaven, we thank you for another day in this life that you have provided for us. We thank you for an opportunity to study your word in the original language. We pray that you provide us the wisdom to understand and the strength to continue to study the Greek language. We are mindful, Father, of many of our family and friends that are struggling, especially at this time. George's wife, Kathy, we thank you for the improvements. We pray that you continue to be with her and be your will that she can fully recover, and all glory to go to you. As we continue our study, Father, you pray that you be with us, and we take these, what we learn into our lives and apply it on a daily basis, that we can help others to come to know your truth, and we'd all be together in heaven. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. So I don't know, George, if you had a chance to do any of the Chapter 10 homework. Let's sort of walk through something that hopefully you're coming a little familiar with. Let me start with
Chapter 10. I thought we did Chapter 11.
Well, we're going to...
yeah. Okay.
See, what we did Chapter 10 last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to review Chapter 10 and then go to 11. Yeah. Okay, so to remember our I'm trying to get my pen here. The paradigm, remember what would go here for the nominative singular under the masculine, second declension masculine for their noun case endings?
Right.
So what would go here? The sigma?
Sigma.
And for the feminine?
Would be nothing.
Very good. And the neuter?
Would be new.
Very good. Now, third declension is what we picked up last week. And so what would be the third declension masculine, feminine, nominative singular?
Sigma, nothing.
It's a sigma, right. And then the neuter is nothing. And then under the genitive for second declension masculine?
Would be upsilon.
Right. And for the feminine?
Sigma.
Right. And then the neuter?
Be upsilon again.
Yep. And that's where we see one of our noun rules where the genitive and dative are going to be the same in the masculine and the neuter. And so we'll see the genitive upsilon, and we'll have the neuter upsilon. And now what about the third declension?
Both of them would be Omicron sigma.
Right. Looks like 05, but it's an Omicron sigma. Dative singular for second declension? Let's do all the way across.
It's iota, and it all the way across.
All the way across, right. Now, under the first and second declension, the dative would normally subscript, and that's because it's follows a vowel. It will follow the Omicron in the second declension masculine. It will follow the alpha or the eta in the feminine, and so it was subscript there, and also the Omicron under the neuter, so it was subscript there. But when we get to the third declension, it will not subscript because the third declension where stem ends in a consonant, where the masculine second declension ends in a Omicron, the second declension neuter stems ends in Omicron, the feminine declension first declension stem ends in an alpha or eta, but in the third declension it ends in a consonant, and so it will not subscript for there. What about the accusatives all the way across? Singular.
Accusative singular all the way across would be a new.
Very good. Okay, and then for the here you have an option. It'd be the alpha for
or
the
new.
neuter. So there's a variation, and then there's nothing on the neuter. And that follows our noun rule, where the nominative and the accusative neuter will be the same. What about nominative plural?
We're back to iota.
All right, the iota.
In the masculine and the feminine.
Right. What about the?
It would be alpha in the neuter.
Yes, it is correct. And third declension. This is a little different.
Yeah. Third declension. I want to say E. I want to say E and V and all that. Epsilon sigma.
And neuter.
Alpha.
Right. And so if I know that's alpha, then I know right here is going to be alpha. If I know that's alpha, that's going to be alpha. Okay, so that I can just fill those in if we want. Genitive plural all the way across.
Omega nu.
Right. So we'll just make that omega nu all the way across. And the dative plural?
Oh, the dative plural, it would be, first one would be iota sigma.
Right.
And, well, that's all the way across. The three,
Right.
what do you call it? Iota sigma would be feminine, masculine, and neuter. And then sigma, the not the ending sigma or the final sigma,
right.
But yeah.
You got it. Sigma iota for both the masculine, feminine, and the neuter under the third declension. And it has a movable nu for both, meaning it may or may not be there.
Yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, generally speaking, the nu is going to be present if the next word has a vowel with it. I think. I won't swear in the Bible on that, but I think that's generally speaking. The accusative. Now we do the same thing with the word a and on. A or an, same kind of thing. So it's nothing new. What about the accusative plural all the way across?
I think we just do the accusative plural.
No, we did it for the neuter.
Accusative plural is iota sigma.
No, not iota. That would be dative plural.
Yeah. I'm getting confused.
That's all right. Go. The accusative plural would be the upsilon sigma for the second declension masculine.
Oh, okay. Upsilon sigma.
Right.
And then
sigma, correct.
Sigma.
And the alpha, which we already had.
And yeah.
And third declension is alpha sigma for the masculine and feminine, and then alpha for the neuter. So somewhat, you're feeling reasonably comfortable with most of this now?
Well, it's coming.
Well,
like anything else, you gotta.
It takes time. You just gotta work it. So.
Stay with it. Okay.
Yeah, and let me erase all this.
Oh, I see what happened. When I put it down in the book, they didn't really make the grid for the genitive, and I got out of whack. Yeah, I see what happened now. That's why I said. I see that. Let me clean it up.
Let me erase all this. We'll move to the next slide. I'm still trying to figure out how the best way to do this on the computer in a live class. I practiced a little bit, but it's not as smooth as I'd like, and you know, like when I'm writing on a whiteboard. So, okay, we'll go back to here. Okay, so this is just as a reminder for us. We're dealing with a third declension, and that's nothing more than a pattern. And in this case, the word charis, its root word ends with a tau. Its stem ends with a tau. Charit, correct. So its root is chari with the iota, and its stem ends charit. And when you add a sigma to a tau, the tau drops off. So in the nominative position, you add a sigma, and you see you get charis, and so that tau is gone. But to recognize, you know, it helps to learn the genitive singular word because it helps you to recognize the stem ending, because it will be there because you're coming up with the omicron sigma, add it to the tau, and so you get caritas. And that how I can see my stem ending with the tau in it. And the dative is cariti, and carin, again, with the nu drops off, or the tau drops off. Trying to remember why. I'll have to look at that. What's the noun rule with the nu in it? I'll have to look at that. And then our neuter, there's no ending for the nominative. And so our word is faut, and the tau drops at the end, and we get phos, and photos, photi, and phos. In the plural, you get charites, chariton, charitsi, and charitas. And in the plural, you have phota, photon, and phota. So I don't know if that helps, but we'll. Some of the hints that we talked about is that the stem, for example, in sarks, you know, the stem ends in a kappa, but when it comes up against the sigma for the nominative, that kappa changes to xi, and so you get sarkos. And so people struggle with the third declension for that very reason. Changes occur when the consonant comes up against a sigma. And so here we have what I just said, sark, which is the stem ending. When the sigma is added to it, the nominative singular, then the stem consonant changes. And so the answer is know the genitive form, sarkos, and then you'll know its basic stem ending sark. And here we talk more specifically, the nominative singular sarks, and the dative plural sarki will also be affected by the sigma added to the consonant. So anytime the sigma is added to the consonant, which is our square stops,
Right.
With the labial, the velar, and the dental, when the sigma is added to the labial, which is the P, the beta, and the phi, then that changes to xi. And so not xi, to xi, that's right. And when the it's added to psi, that's it. I knew I had it wrong. When it's added to the dental with the kappa, the gamma, or the xi, then it changes to xi. The key changes to xi. And then the dentals with the tau, delta and theta, the sigma added to it just becomes sigma. So it's good to know noun rule, the square stop 7, and the changes when the sigma occurs. That will help you tremendously. It's good to know the genitive form of the third declension word. That helps you recognize what the stem ending is. Also, the new drops out before the sigma, such as teen. We drop just like the tau, the new will drop out when it comes to a sigma. Or so here's the dative TC, TC, and also the tau drops when followed by sigma or at the end of a word. So we've talked about both of those. So anamat becomes plus the sigma iota becomes anamasi, anamat. That's a stem ending. In the nominative case becomes anama, and the tau just drops. So you see that a lot. Very important to know this square stops and the changes that occur when a sigma comes up to it. So the P, beta, phi changes to psi. The kappa, gamma, xi changes to chi changes to xi. The tau, delta, and theta changes when it comes up against a sigma, just changes to sigma. So there's a lot of changes on third declension nouns, and it's good to know what these changes are, and to know the genitive form to help you to recognize the word, and that's really all you're doing. Noun rule number 8, we've already touched on. A tau cannot stand at the end of a word and will drop off. So anamat, which is the stem ending, in the nominative form, because it's a neuter word, there's no ending added to it, so the tau will just drop out and becomes anama. So, all that makes sense, George? You okay with that?
Yeah, in fact, it seems to make a little more sense now, going over it again, especially, seeing that back to the previous slide where we were using the S or the sigma,
right,
with the different endings to achieve the final word.
Right. And so, if you can sort of recognize when you see before the case ending, and you see where the stem would normally be, and you see these letters, you're a good chance you're dealing with a third declension noun. And the only reason you need to know that is when you're trying to recognize what the word is, and it's spelt differently than what you might normally expect it. Well, that's because it changed when it came up against one of these square stops with a sigma. And
in 1020, in the textbook,
sure,
stops plus a sigma.
Yeah.
First one is pretty straightforward.
The labials?
But, well, I'm looking down underneath there,
okay.
The three words. But see, when you say sarc, and then you add the sigma iota, they're retaining the iota.
Yeah, the iota doesn't go away. I mean, the sigma iota is added because go back to these. Let me go watch my slides here. Go back to let's see. Okay, in the dative plural, we add the sigma iota. Okay, and so when this sigma comes up against this tau, that tau will drop off, and it will change to well, that's a tau, but okay, it would change because it's dental, it just changes the sigma. But if it was a word that ended kappa, like we have here in the book, sarc, let's see if I can do that. Let me just write it out here. Okay, so I don't know how we're going to write this. So we go, here's the, all right, that's the stem.
Right.
okay, with the kappa, all right? Now, if I want to make a data plural, I'm going to add the sigma iota, okay?
Right.
Well, the sigma and the kappa is going to change to the xc. And
Right.
so we'll get sarki. And that's what they did. You see that? That make a little sense? So they're looking at adding the sigma iota because it's the dative, plural. And when the sigma comes on to get the kappa, that kappa changes to the xi, and so it becomes sarki.
Yeah.
You see that?
Well, maybe it'll become more clear and as we go, but it's still a little confusing if you use your chart literally. You really can't use your chart literally because it's
Well, you can. Which chart are we talking about now? Let me go. Let me erase all
we're
this.
we're still at 1020 in the textbook.
Yeah.
You know, they're little labial plus sigma.
Well, if they in the textbook, that second one, they have the a sarc, the kappa ending on the stem, plus sigma iota, and they're not showing the change that occurs. They're showing the end results. But that
Yeah.
sigma plus the kappa is going to change to a xi, and
Yeah.
the iota didn't change at all. The sigma iota that they're adding to it is for data plural, and the sigma changes the kappa to xi, and so you get sarski. Let's see if they have it. Let's go to this slide here. Get my okay. So
Got sarc. We're using the voiceless velars.
right. So we're dealing with the velars, okay. And so right now, sarcs. Kind of get my. There we go. Okay, so we're dealing with this kappa here. And so if I want to make sarcs, excuse my handwriting here. Okay, if I want to make sarc a data plural, okay, because that's what we're doing is we're making a data plural case ending. So I'm going to make it a data plural. And what letters do we add for data plural? Sigma iota. Well, the issue is this kappa and sigma. And so when we add the kappa, the gamma, or the key to a sigma, then that kappa or the gamma or the key is going to change to xi. And so we get, and so not a kappa, but we get the xi. And then the iota, here's my data plural. That's how I know it's a data plural.
Okay.
Okay. Help a little?
Yeah. Yeah. And the last word there is, straightforward like the first one. I mean, you're adding the sigma iota.
Right.
And it was just this middle one where they.
Well, are we looking at the same thing now? Because you're looking on page 85, 220, and they got the first one. We're adding the sigma to the p, the pow, the pi, I mean, right? And that changes to a c. And then the second one is sarcs with the kappa added to the sigma iota, and that changes to sarki. So the sigma changes the kappa to xi, but the iota remains to show that's data plural. And under the third one, the same kind of thing. On the mot, the sigma and the tau combine. The tau's a dental, so that changes to a sigma. And so there's no real change, but the tau goes away, and the iota stays because that's the nominative plural form. So onomasi is nominative is a data plural. Excuse me. Does it make a little sense?
Yeah, that it was only the middle one there that was confusing, but I'm beginning to see it.
Okay, well, the first one's the labial, the second one's the velar, and the third one is the dental. And so they're
Right.
showing you the changes with the sigma added to first the labial, then velar, then dental, and what that looks like. So it happens to be in the first case with the labial, they're adding a sigma for the nominative form. In the velar and dental, they're adding a sigma iota for the dative plural form. So this will kind of walk us through that. For example, let me get my pen here. So do you want to help kind of walk through this? Do you think you might know some of this?
Sarkai.
Right. So what case would this be in?
Third declension.
Well, it's third declension, correct, because we know the kappa stem ending, but it's either going to be in the nominative dative, nominative genitive dative, or accusative singular plural.
Oh, it would be dative singular.
Okay. Oh, so I don't want to use this line. Hold on. Let me change that. That's okay. Okay, so it's in the dative case, and it's singular, you said. What gender is it?
It would be masculine.
Sarki is going to be, the word itself is a feminine word, and you really don't know that unless you look it up in its lexicon. Its lexical form is sarx, so when you look it up in the lexicon, which we've already been doing, that's the lexical form, but its inflected meaning would be what? What does sarx mean? What's the word mean?
I said I'm a little behind in this vocabulary stuff.
Okay, I understand that. It takes some effort and time. Sarx is flesh. Actually has.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So,
We had it.
And because it's in the dative, we'll say it's either to, with, or in flesh. So generally we'll say to a flesh, for example. Tinos, what ending would the Omicron sigma be here? Now notice that the stem is a consonant. So this Omicron sigma, so that will give you a clue what that is.
Well, we're looking again at a genitive singular.
It could be any one of the above: masculine, feminine, or neuter. And the reason is tinos is from the word tis, which is I can't write well with this. Tis is a pronoun meaning who, a relative pronoun, who, what, which, and so it has to work in masculine, feminine, or neuter forms, so it can agree with the subject that it's and the verb it's modifying. So tinos, its lexical form is tis, and we'll put with the accent mark there, and that would mean, because it's in the genitive, we'd say of, whom, or which. What about pasas? We got the Omicron sigma ending.
Omicron sigma. We're looking at a nominative singular.
Well, the nominative singular is not going to be Omicron sigma. We have a consonant here, okay? So it's going to be third declension. And so our choices are going to be either, if it's nominative, it would be just the
Genitive.
okay. No, genitive would be the Omicron sigma, but the alpha sigma is going to be the accusative plural.
Oh, alpha. What?
That's okay. We'll
No,
walk.
I was looking at.
It's going to be the accusative plural, and I know it's in the third declension because I've got the consonant next to the connecting vowel, the omicron, the sigma next to the omicron, and so it's gender is going to be. Do you know what it is?
Sass? No. But,
It's going to be feminine.
okay. Yeah, I got it. Feminine.
Okay, and its lexical form. Well, that's just the pos.
Us.
Pos. And its inflected meaning would be just all or everyone, probably all. Henos, again, we have hen. The nu is a consonant, and the omicron sigma is our case ending. And so I've got the omicron sigma coming up against the hen. What case would that be?
Well, now we're talking nominative singular.
Well, no, and reason it's not is because look at the nu is a case ending. If it was...
Oh, okay, yeah, we're genitive singular.
Yeah, it's a genitive singular. The nu is the stem ending, I mean, a consonant. And so the omicron sigma is the... see, this is where, if you're in the second declension masculine, this is what you're getting confused with. The omicron sigma is second declension masculine.
Yeah.
But that omicron is part of the connecting vowel. The sigma is the actual stem ending in the second declension masculine. In third declension, that omicron sigma is the case ending. And the difference is that it's up against a consonant, so the nu right there. That's really the difference. And so as soon as I recognize it's up against a consonant, I recognize it's in the genitive case, because it's the omicron sigma here is genitive for third declension, where the omicron sigma here is nominative for second declension. And the difference is this is the connecting vowel. Here, the omicron is the case ending. Omicron sigma is a case ending. I made a mess of that, didn't I? Yeah. I'm going to get my eraser here. Okay, so it's in the genitive. It must be singular because it's the omicron sigma.
Right.
And henos is going to be either masculine or neuter.
Right.
Third declension. And its lexical form, this might give you trouble. It's the word haste. And it has a rough breathing with a circumflex over it. So it's haste. And when you look it up in the lexicon, it'll say haste. It'll say, then it'll have mion. I think it's mion. And then it'll have hen. So haste, mion, or mios, I can't remember. I think it's mion or mios. Hen. Well, we're dealing with the hen. And so this is the masculine, feminine, and neuter. So it's going to be neuter. And it means one. So it's just the number one. Can you follow that?
Right.
Okay. Soma.
Soma. Well, the ending is A or alpha.
Right.
So it could. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's normal if you look it up in the lexicon, it'll be Soma. Well, it's right here in the lexical form. It'd be Soma, so omega, mu, alpha, and that would be the nominative form, and then its genitive would be Soma, somatos. And so what happens is noun rule number 8 comes into play. The tau at the ending of this word drops off when there's nothing added to it. So in the nominative, it's soma, and in the genitive, it's somatos. So it's nominative singular, and it would be in the neuter form. And it means body. That makes sense? George?
Nominative singular.
Look it up in, look up the word in the back of the book on page, you'll see it right there on page, page 411, I think. Let me see. Oh no, 412. 412. Yeah, 412. The bottom of 412. The third one up from the sigmas. You have soma, comma, somatos, and ta. So the soma is the nominative singular form. The somatos with the alpha, tau, omicron, sigma would be the genitive form. Well, the genitive form tells me that the tau is, because the omicron sigma is really the genitive ending, case ending. The tau is the case end, is the stem ending. Well, so the word normally is somat. The tau drops off because it cannot stand alone at the end. Because, you know, and if you go back to, let me pull up my, if you go back to, well, we don't have it filled out. Yeah, we don't have it filled out. When the tau, like in karit,
Right.
okay, when the tau is, when we add a nothing to it, like here in the third declension, you see you add nothing, fote, well, that tau drops off. And so, or when you add a sigma to it, the tau drops off. So in the case of somat, the original word is with the stem is somat, and the T dropped off in the nominative singular. The tau dropped off, I mean. So that's good. That goes to noun rule 8. So here you see the same word, look, well, different word, but it's same kind of ending, onomat, and then the omega nu added to it. Well, this is in the genitive plural form, okay?
Right.
If it was going to be in the nominative singular form, then the tau and all that would go away, and because the tau would fall off, and it'd be the onoma. And so that's the same kind of principle here. That help a little bit, maybe?
Right.
Okay, so onomat tone is the genitive plural. We got our omega nu, like we said, omega nu all the way across. Genitive plural, and that'd be the neuter, because onomat is a neuter word, and its lexical form is no, it's an omicron. Mot onoma. The tau fell off, and its inflected meaning would be of names, plural, because it's gender plural. What about henna? We just did up here henas. This is the exact same word.
Yeah.
The only difference up here is in the genitive singular, but here it's in the alpha. What would case it be in?
It would be nominative plural.
Okay, it'd be nominative, but nominative plural or accusative plural.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Either one. So until you see some other context, you won't know. And actually, it's not plural. Excuse me. Is it plural?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And so
It's neuter.
neuter. And it means, well, we already did the lexical form as haste. I gotta look at it, see if it's mion or mios, I can't remember now, and hen. And we're dealing with the neuter because the hen, and we already have our hen and na, and so it's going to be just one. And that's all it is. Here we have tines, and notice the epsilon sigma and up against this consonant nu. The epsilon sigma is going to tell me that it's nominative plural.
Right.
Okay. And it's going to be in the masculine or feminine form or third declension. And its lexical form is tis. Now notice that here there is no accent mark at all. Well, when we come up here, tinas, we have the accent mark. So these are two different words, and the only way you know the difference is because of the accent mark. T or tis with the accent mark is a pronoun, a relative pronoun, meaning who, which, or what, where tis or tines in the plural form without the accent mark is referring to someone, anyone, certain one. So this would be the plural, so it would be some ones, plural. And that's how you know the difference. And here's our sarki. Now this is what we've already done. This is going to be the dative plural, because that is really the sigma iota, but that sigma came up against the tau and it changed to the xi. And so this is a feminine word. Sarx is a feminine word, and it is original form is the sarx without the iota, and it means because it's in the dative, it's going to be to, with, or in flesh. And our last word here is pneumata. Where's my arrow? There we go. Again, there's my stem ending. And we're adding the alpha. So the alpha is going to make it either nominative or accusative.
Right.
Okay, and it's in the plural form. It's neuter. It's a neuter word, and its lexical form is pneuma.
Breath, spirit.
Right, spirit or wind. Pneuma, and its meaning is it's in the plural form, so it's spirits.
Right.
Right, in the plural, spirits, or winds, plural. So that kind of helping a little bit as you go through it?
Yeah, and I taught medical terminology to veterinary students, and so like pneuma, glosso, uh, you know, these are terms that I'm already familiar with,
Good.
words. So, because the medical profession borrowed from the Greek, the Latin,
Yeah.
to, like glosso and pneuma.
Well, what will help is, George, when you're going to have to make the time to go through the homework.
Yeah.
Because until you really sit down and start doing it, it's hard to, you may have a familiarity with it, but it's hard to retain it unless you actually physically do it.
Yeah, and of course, we use the stem, new. We didn't put, we didn't care whether it was masculine, feminine,
Right.
neuter. We didn't care about any of the endings. We just wanted to know, new and what it went with, or like glosso,
Right. Right.
but what word what endings or prefixes, suffixes and prefixes you could add to that to get the final term.
Right.
And so we didn't really go into whether it was feminine or
Well,
plural.
we're doing the same thing. We have to see the case endings to understand its final usage in the context.
Mm-hmm.
But especially third declension, there's many changes that occur. So we're just trying to make sure we recognize those endings. And you do need to know the number and the gender, and it's significant because what happens is when you see it in a sentence,
Right.
it's going to typically, if there's an adjective with it, or if the word's an adjective, or if it's associated with a verb, there has to be agreement between the noun and the verb, or between the adjective and the noun, so modifying or attributing to. So there has to be agreement in case, number, and gender for the adjective and the noun, and these kind of things. So it's important to recognize those and to understand them. So let's walk through a few sentences, and we'll do a few and then go to so what case is to onomati in?
Well, onomati, it would be the dative.
Yes, sir. Singular or plural?
Singular.
Very good. Singular, I know for a couple of reasons. The articles associated with it is an agreement with the noun it's modifying. It's an agreement because there's my subscript iota. It's singular dative, and here's my iota ending for the noun, and it's modifying the iota ending. So it's both dative. So this is to name, but then we have this word moo. Do you remember what moo means?
No.
It's my.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and it's in the genitive form, which you expect. Well, I wrote that backwards. Well, so it's talking about my name, and so it's speaking of to my name. So, and I had the to because I'm in the dative case ending, and so both the genitive and dative need a little help. And so you add helping words, and the dative you add either to, with, or in. Generally speaking, those are our gloss, our helping words. And the genitive you would add of. And so here's this. This would be to my name.
Right.
Now that's not a complete sentence, obviously, but it's erase all this. We'll try a couple more. Okay, let's look at a couple things here. So we have tain, agapein, tain, ace, pantos, tus, hagius. Now, I like to break off my prepositional phrases.
Right.
Okay, because they're not part of the main sentence, although they can function as part. So we have tain, agapein. What case is tain, agapein in?
Well, with the new, but no, not E and new. Isn't that the word we're looking for?
The Ada new?
Yeah.
What case would that be in? It's either going to be nominative, genitive,
Accusative singular.
Accusative singular, correct. Okay, so this is accusative singular. So we're talking about the love. Okay, and then we have, we'll do this one. I wish I could write easier. So this is the love. And do you remember what ace means? If you look up ace on page, I think it's 400. Page 400 of your book. If you look up ace, it's about a little more than halfway down. Oh, okay, there it is. And it's in the accusative, next accusative, and it can mean into, in, or among. And so
that's your phrase.
The gloss, yeah, for page 400 for ace. Ace generally means into, your prepositional phrase or word preposition. Generally means into, but it can also carry over and have the same meaning as some others. It can mean in or among. And so we could start with into. The love into Pontos all of, and this is the accusative plural, the upsilon sigma. Remember we did that earlier. All the saints. Hagios is saints or holy ones. So it's the accusative plural. They're in agreement with each other. This is all the saints. So the love, and then we got this strange word thee here. And this is where thee does not always mean thee. The love thee into all the saints. Doesn't make much sense in English, does it? Well, let's change ace instead of into, as like we looked up on page 400, can mean among. The love thee among all the saints. Well, that's better, but the thee here is still a problem. Well, the reason is you don't translate this thee.
Yeah, I was going to say, just forget it, get it.
It's a marker.
Yeah.
And what it's doing is, this is a little more than beginning Greek, okay? The marker is letting us know that this prepositional phrase, this whole phrase right here, is governed by this article, and it's because it's in the same case as attain agape, it's governing, or it's describing the love. So it's the love, and it's making this whole phrase really sort of an adjective. The love, the ones among all the saints. This is really a marker. It's not translated the, and that's why it's there. It's really making this prepositional phrase function to describe the love in terms of who it is. So it's really functioning almost as a pronoun. The love, the ones among all the saints. Something of that nature. That really confuse you?
No, I think if you just translate good English, the love among the saints.
Right. Well, I would not drop all out because among all the saints, correct. Yeah. And typically what the Bibles will do is they'll say just that, the love among all the saints. So exactly correct. Okay, so let's try another one here. Here we have ace sarka mion, and let me get my pen. So ace is the word we just had. It can mean into, in, or among. Here it's probably into. Sarka, we've had before. This is means flesh. Excuse me. And the alpha is going to make it accusative plural.
Mm-hmm.
Into is accusative plural? Let me look that up. Sark.
Yeah.
Into, and this is me on, is accusative. It's going to make it into, this means one, into one flesh. I'm going to look up Sarks for a minute.
Or in one body.
Well, you can't say body here because flesh doesn't have the meaning of body.
Body, yeah.
So it's in one flesh. I want to look up something with Sarks real quick. Call it third declension word. Okay, so it is accusative singular. If you remember, accusative singular can have an alpha or a nu ending. And here is accusative singular. And the reason I wanted to understand that is because neon is accusative singular. I see my alpha nu. And so this should agree with that. And if this was plural, it wouldn't agree. Now, it's still possible to be plural if you're talking about flesh, singular, sort of encompassing all flesh, but that's not the case. So this is into one flesh is what it is. That makes sense?
Right.
All right, good. All right, well, we got time a little more here, so we'll do a couple more before we do chapter 11. And chapter 11 is pretty short, so. Okay, you want to try reading it?
Tenon.
Say that again.
Tenon.
Tenon. Oh, wrong.
Yeah. Tenon. Anthropone.
Very good.
Anthropone.
Yep.
Amartia.
Armatia, correct.
Amartia.
Yeah, I think I typed this wrong. That should be a rough breathing right there. I got it. That should be high. Armatia. Do you remember what anthropone or anthropos means?
Oh, it means a lot of things. Human being, mankind.
Right. Okay. And because we're doing genitive plural here, it's generally going to be, mankind, or something of that nature, or people, something.
Right.
Do you remember what harmatia means? We talked about that before we started recording.
Yeah, it was sin.
Right. It's sin. So it's in the plural. It's the dative plural.
Sins of man.
Yeah. Right. Let me look something up just to make sure I don't misstate something. Well, is that you, George, or somebody else?
Do what?
You coming in again, or somebody else coming in?
No, it might be somebody else.
Somebody else is logged on. I can't tell who it is, but that's fine. We'll keep going.
I don't think I hit a key.
No, it doesn't look like it. Look up that in the workbook because it just doesn't look right. Maybe I copied it wrong. I wonder if I copied it wrong. So, I don't have my chapter 10 workbook. I'll have to research something. We'll deal with it later. So anyway, we're dealing with sins in the plural. I think I might have copied something wrong here, so because something doesn't look right, and I'm not sure what. And so the subject, this should be harmatia. I think this iota doesn't belong. That's what's throwing me off. Harmatia, and this should be a rough breathing. So, when I type these things, sometimes, I'm manually typing them, so I make mistakes. Hi harmatia, where this is my nominative plural for the article, and this should be the nominative plural for sins. So we're talking about these sins. Well, I may or may not use that article, but the point is it's plural, sins, plural.
Right.
And then I have the genitive plural for tinon, and so the subject is going to be the sins, and because it's genitive plural, I'm going to add the sins of, because it's the genitive, I'm going to use my helping word of. Some, this means some. Some, what would you think the last word is?
Well, it'd be men,
or people, men, or more generic probably. Men would be correct, but probably more generic would be people or something of that nature. So that would be it. That's very good. Okay. Well, let's try another one. Okay. Now I like to mark off my prepositional phrases. So we start with a prepositional phrase, into somati, and there's my prepositional phrase. In governs the dative, and so to somati is in the dative. We've already had that. Dative singular with the subscript iota. Dative singular on a third declension, ending in a consonant. Somat, and add my iota. So in the body, and then we have tes sarkos out too. What case is tes sarkos in?
Akos would, with the Omicron.
With the eta sigma? Or are you talking about the Omicron sigma here?
Oh, okay. Okay. You're wanting Akos.
Well, both of these. What case is tes sarkos in?
Well, it's gender singular.
What case, though? Nominative, accusative, genitive, or dative?
No. Genitive singular.
Genitive. Okay, singular, correct.
Yeah.
And so here we have genitive singular in the article, tes, using the feminine form,
Right.
sarkos, using the genitive singular. And so it is in the body of his flesh. So here's his, we're talking about the flesh. That makes sense? So that's the genitive. So in the body of his flesh.
Yeah, well, it makes sense, but it doesn't make sense.
Well, that's where you want to break it into pieces. Okay, so let's start with in to somati. It's in the dative, and so I'm going to start with in, because that's what my preposition is telling me. And in governs the dative, and so this is in the body.
Right.
You got to know the vocabulary, obviously. Excuse my handwriting here, but it's in the body. And then I've got in the body of what? And so this is tes, sarkos, autu, all of genitive. All of this is genitive. All of it's genitive singular.
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to do my helping word of, in the body of, and in the body of flesh. Well, what flesh or whose flesh? It's his flesh. So it's his flesh. So in the body of his flesh. That help a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's move to the next one. Let's see, we'll do a couple more. We got time before we hit. All right. Do you want to try to read this one?
Tennis.
Right.
Asin.
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 Asin. Good.
Oi.
Right.
Adelethio.
De. Adele.
Adele.
Foy. Adelphoy. Adelphoy. And then
Mew.
moo.
Adele.
That's ooh, like a ooh sound. Moo. So tenes asin hoy adelphoi moo. Let's break it down. First thing is I have this hoy adelphoi. That's, if I know my article, I automatically see that this right here is nominative plural. Well, nominative plural means it's my subject, generally speaking. So hoi adelphoi is my subject, and what we're talking about, adelphoi, do you remember what that means?
No.
It's the brethren.
Oh.
Okay. Or
I have trouble with brother a lot,
okay.
even in my
I
cards.
got trouble with my brethren too. So, not really, but.
Yeah, for some reason, brother, I just.
The brothers or brethren, I think.
Yeah.
And so now we have this moo. Pretty simple. It's a genitive form, and it's describing, it's modifying the brethren. So this is going to be my brothers or brethren. So that gets us the subject. So the subject is my brethren or my brothers, plural. Okay. Now here's my verb, asin. If you learn the ame verbs, this is one of the couple of verbs you learn early on before we get to verbs because it's important. Asin is third person plural. Well, we're dealing with plural, brothers, so the verb needs to match. It's plural. And so my brothers are, and then tines is going to be, see the accent mark, and this is from the word tis. See if I can write it with the accent mark. Oh, come on, do my accent. Well, tis means it's a pronoun, relative pronoun, meaning who, what, which, that type of thing. So I don't know which one, but there's a key here, and that's this little symbol right here. Do you remember what this means?
Isn't that a question mark?
Yes, great. So now we got to make this into a question. So to make it a question, this text is going to be something to the effect is, who are my brothers? So
Okay.
I would make this the who, the are my brothers. Does that make sense?
Right.
And so you just take it one piece at a time, dissect it, and try to piece it back together. I think we got time for one more, and then we're going to go to chapter 11. And if we finish chapter 11 early, we'll come back if you want to do a couple more. Oh, I want to make sure I get through 11, though. Okay, well, this one should be relatively easy. You want to try this one?
Inte, sarkai, auto.
Very good. In, te, sarki, autu.
Saki.
Right. And autu. Now, break it down. What does the in mean? you remember it's a preposition, right?
Yeah, in, into.
Okay, well, this is one of the easiest ones to remember. In means in. Okay, Greek epsilon nu means English in. In. It's the prepositional phrase. It's governed the dative, and so you notice the prepositional phrase is tain sarki, as te sarki, and they're both in the dative singular. You got te with the subscript iota under the eta, and then sarki with the iota after the stem kappa. So this is in the flesh. Now we complicate it by adding autu, because what it's doing is it's describing whose flesh. Autu means his. So it's in his flesh. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do this last one, and then we'll move to chapter 11. Okay. Here's my preposition, pros, and pros is in the accusative, and it goes with auton. And then I have this plural word. I know it's plural because the epsilon sigma, it's nominative, because there's my tau, my consonant. So it's a third declension, it's actually an adjective, third declension, pontes, and there's the verb. They've already told me what the verb, because we hadn't done verbs yet. So they are going. Well, what is pos? This is from the word pos. There, if you remember, that means all when it's in the plural. So all or every. So either all or every in the plural. All are going. And now, do you remember pros auton? Where are they going?
Flesh.
Huh?
Flesh.
No, there's no flesh here. All are going. Pontes is all. Erkantai is they are going, or all are going. Where are they going? They're going pros auton. Well, pros in the accusative means to or toward. So they're going to or toward, what's auton? Toward him. It's in the accusative. So all, let me try it this way.
All are going towards him.
Yes, or to him, right, either way. The amazing thing or the fun thing about translation is both an art and a science.
Yes.
There's a science in you understanding the grammar and how syntax and how things work together, but there's an art in terms of how you actually make the translation. You get a feel for it?
Yep. It's coming.
Good, good. All right, let's move to, before we run out of time, let's move to chapter 11. We'll skip this one for now, skip that one, and skip these here. Okay, so in chapter 11, we're dealing with pronouns. And there are lots of different kinds of pronouns. I'm sure you're familiar with that. There's personal pronouns. There's 10,779 Greek personal pronouns. Ego, su, autos, aute, auto. Those are all personal pronouns, and we're going to see some of those tonight. There's also demonstrative pronouns. Hutos, haute, tuta. Well, demonstrative pronoun means this or that. That's all demonstrative is. This or that, or these or those. And so we'll do those, I think, 2 weeks from now. A relative pronoun, hos, he, ha, looks very much like the articles, except it has the accent mark. But actually, I think I'm missing an accent mark there. Hos, he, ha is a relative pronoun meaning who, which, who, which, or what, or who, who or which. The interrogator pronouns, there's 615 of them. See the tis with the accent mark, and T is in the neuter. This is referring to interrogating. You're interrogating. You're saying what or why or who. The indefinite pronoun is with the same word without the accent mark, makes it a different word, tis or t, and that's going to make it indefinite. Indefinite is like someone, anyone, certain ones. Those are indefinite pronouns. Then you have reflective pronouns. There's not a whole lot of them, 413. We won't see these for a while. At Mautu, reflective means like himself. He said to himself, those kind of things. Or, he himself went there. Those are reflexive pronouns. Intensive pronouns would be actually the same as our third-person personal pronouns, autos, aute, auta, and it's intensifier. Jesus, the same, or Jesus himself, Jesus, the same one. So it intensifies the person it's or thing that it's modifying. We'll get to that one later. Reciprocal pronouns, alle lone, one another. There's 100 uses of that. So there's different kinds of pronouns. Well, we're going to focus on first a personal one. I, you, he, she, or it. Tonight, we'll just look at I and you. Okay? And so in English, the pronoun replaces the noun. If I say the sentence, give it to me, it is the pronoun. Right. It replaces something. Give it to me, whatever it is pointing back to. Me is a third person, a second person. Second person pronoun, first person pronoun, excuse me. Give it to me. I don't say give it to Dave, I say give it to me. So they're both, it is a neuter and me is in the accusative, giving it to me as indirect object. On a personal pronoun, I wish I had learned Hebrew instead of Greek. I is a personal pronoun. It's used there twice. Well, it doesn't say Dave wished Dave had learned Hebrew instead of Greek. We simplify it by using personal pronouns. And there's a word called antecedent. Antecedent is what the pronoun is pointing back to. And for example, I wish I had learned Hebrew instead of Greek. You don't know who I is unless you can point back to someone in the context to say, well, who is I? And you go back and you find that I. Who's the I? And it's going to be in the first, second, or third person pronoun. And Greek is very much the same. Greek is not much different. And tonight we're going to focus on the first and second. So in the first person, in English, we have this paradigm. First person is I for the subject. I'm the subject. Possessive would be my. The objective, in the accusative case, for example, would be me. In the plural, subjective would be we. Possessive would be our, and objective would be us. So we're pretty comfortable. This is very natural. We think about it. We don't normally think about it being in the objective, possessive, or subjective form, but we are very comfortable with I, me, my, me, we, our, us. But they are subjective being in the subject form, possessive being in the genitive form, and objective being the accusative form. Now that's first person. Second person is a little more difficult in English because it's all based on you. The subject is you, the possessive is easy, it's your. The objective case is you. Subject plural is you. The possessive plural is your. And the objective plural is you. So between the objective plural and subjective plural, objective singular and subjective singular, we don't know who you is unless you look at context. Is you singular or you plural? Is it you, the accusative case, or the direct object, or is it the subject? Unless you look at the context in English, the you, that's why the King James does thee, thou,
right.
Kind of things.
Right, that's what they pointed out in the book.
Right, but English, doesn't differentiate easily. Greek does. Greek differentiates it quite easily by using different cases. Um, in English, we have the case of function. Me will eat now is incorrect. We can't say me because me is a direct object. Me will eat now would be incorrect because it's I as the subject will eat now. The antecedent is what it points back to. My name is Dave. I like to teach Greek. Well, I is pointing back to Dave. It's antecedent. And so there's no gender associated with a first or second person pronoun. You notice when we did this, there's no gender here. Now, when we get to third person, there is a gender. But first and second, there's no gender. And so in Greek, the personal pronouns, there's first person, and there's no gender, and second person, and no gender. Let's focus on the first person first, okay? Let me get my highlighter here, my spotlight here. So, nominative singular is ago.
Right.
And that just simply means, oh, don't do that, I. Well, okay, that's an I. In the genitive, it's mu, meaning my, okay? Now, sometimes a Greek will want to make that emphatic. That means they'll want to emphasize. It's instead of saying my house, I want to emphasize it says my house. Well, to make it the emphasis there, they would put the epsilon in front of it. So mu can change to emu. Well, all that is, it still means my, but it puts an emphasis on it. That's where English doesn't do a good job. Where we'll read English my house, but in Greek it may be emu, my house. And you may not realize the emphasis is there. It's subtle. And you won't see that in English because we don't have a way to make that emphasis in English. So Greek helps to bring that out. And so when someone's teaching or preaching who understands the Greek, they can at least be showing that there's an emphasis associated with my if they're using emu. If they use mu, it's just a normal my. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay. So we have ego in the nominative, which is the subject for I. We have the genitive case, which is mu, and it can be emu being emphasis, and it just means my in both cases. In the dative, we have now notice the omicron upsilon. That should be very familiar to us because the genitive form in what we learned already was the omicron upsilon, the upsilon ending. And the dative, the same thing, the iota ending. And for instead of mu, for the dative, it's moi, with the and the iota ending. That's like to me or with me or in me would be the helping words we use. Again, we can add the epsilon for emoi, meaning to me instead of to you. And normally that's giving contrast. Emu, emi, it's my house, meaning not yours. Emu, meaning it's to me and not to you. That would be the emphasis. Typically, it's associated with contrast. Me, well, the nice thing about me in the accusative singular, it's the direct object. Well, it's spelled in Greek, mu epsilon, and in English, it's M-E. Well, that's the same transliteration. And so the accusative or direct object form for the first person is me, and it's me in Greek. So that makes it easy to remember. Emi, again, is to make it me, emphasis or contrast, me and not you kind of thing. So you want to learn this, the mu, moi, me, sort of as a group. Ego is standalone. It's the subject nominative case for I. Then the my or to me or me is mu, moi, me. Then you get to plural. Now the plural is different. The plural is hemes, hemon, hemin, hemos. Now notice the omicron sigma here for the accusative plural. We've already seen that for accusative plural before. Notice the dative plural, the iota, except it has a nu at the end. We've seen the iota for dative before. Hemon, the genitive for the omicron omega nu. We've seen that many times. Hemes is a little different, but hemes is the plural form for we, subject nominative. Hemon is the genitive plural form for our. It's genitive. It's ours. Hemin is to us, with us, or in us. Dative would be us. Hemos would be the accusative as a direct object. It would be us. So when I learned these, I learned ego. I let go of my ego. Ego, and then mu, moi, me, and then I learned hey mace, hey mon, hey mean, hey mas. Recognizing the Omicron sigma, the iota, the omega nu, I'm already familiar with. So it's we, are, to us, and us. Does that make sense? First
Makes
person.
sense.
Okay. Now let me show you something on the second person, the way that makes it easy to remember it. I'm going to start with the plural first. The plural is the exact same thing. This is dealing with me, first person. I, me, we, us, are. Here it's dealing with you. Second, I'm talking about you now. It's second person. Plural, singular, or plural. Let's start with the plural first. It's the exact same endings. Instead of the rough breathing eta, it's the rough breathing upsilon.
Yeah.
Instead of hey mace, it's who mace. Instead of hey moan, it's who moan. Instead of hey mean, it's who mean. Instead of hey mas, it's who mas. So these really, as a group, are pretty easy to learn once you recognize hey mace, hey moan, hey mean, hey mas are really the same thing over here. Is I just changed the upsilon, the eta to the upsilon. Who mos, who mace, who moan, who mean, who mas. And they're you plural, your plural, to, with, or in you plural, and you plural as the direct object. Then you come up here, and instead of having mu, moi, me, you have su, soy, se. The mu changes to sigma, the mu changes to sigma, the mu changes to a sigma, and so you get mu or su, moi or su, me or se. And there is no emphasis added here, like you have emu, emoi, emi. So the second person nominative is su. Oh, don't do that. Is su, and that means you, second person singular in the subject. Now, when I want to make a genitive, I put the upsilon, omicron upsilon to it. Dative, I'll put the omicron iota to it, and accusative in the direct object, the epsilon to it. So it's su, sounds the same. Soy, se. And then I've got my second person, you, your, to, with, or in you. This is singular, that's singular, that's singular, and you, singular. And that's really all there is to a first person or second person pronoun. And really learning this little matrix you'll see this over and over and over again. So you'll definitely need to know it. Recognize that the mu, moi, me is first person. The su, soy, si is second person. Hey mace is first. Who mace is second. So it's we, you, are, yours, to us, to you, us, and you. That makes sense? Is that confusing to you, or did I walk through it strangely, or what?
No, it's
There's a logic to it, and there's a pattern. That's what I want you to see.
There's a pattern to it if you can pick it out.
Yes, definitely. Let me write something.
You had it to look at it at first is one thing, but now you've explained the pattern. Yeah, I see the pattern here.
That's really I wanted to find. There is a pattern with this hemes to change it to the who and the who mace, and you go from first person to second person. First person is we, second person is you plural. Same with here. I got my omega nu, my iota for my dative, my omicron sigma for my accusative, and my accusative is the direct object. My dative is an indirect object. My genitive is possessive, and so possessive is our. Indirect object is to us, with us, in us, in the plural. And if I want to make it second person, all I do is change the eta to the upsilon. And so when I notice the upsilon, I know I'm automatically dealing with second person. I'm dealing with you, and I'm not dealing with me or us kind of thing. Same thing up here. I got a pretty good pattern within here, and I can trace that pattern over to this side of the room as well. And that, to me, makes life so much simpler just to recognize the pattern. So.
Yeah, it had taken me a while to recognize the pattern without having it explained.
Well, I'm glad that it shows up. Okay, see, what's my next slide? Let's see. I think that,
Third person.
can't remember what else I have after this. Okay, vocabulary. So let's
Oh,
walk through vocabulary.
You are
So,
going to do the third person?
no, third person we'll do next week. I don't want to throw too much at
Okay.
one time. Next week is third person. I have taught this where I did first, second, and third together. But third person, there's a pattern between first and second, but it's a different pattern for third person. Although that pattern is the same for now, so it's not really much new. But I don't want to confuse the two. So let's do first and second. We'll do third next week. So chapter 12 will be next week. You want to try pronunciation for me?
Adelphos. Adelphos.
Phos, yes. Adelphos or Adelphos. I think either way works. Adelphos, and its genitive form would be Adelphu. And we have the article, it's the Omicron, rough breathing ha. It tells me automatically I'm dealing with a nominative form, which would be the lexical form Adelphos, and it means?
Brother.
Brother, right.
Brother.
Correct. Or man or mankind. On. This is not a word. It's a particle. You cannot pronounce it, or you cannot translate it, because there's no translation. What happens is when on is added to in the sentence, it's going to generally make something definite, indefinite. It's going to say, you say, if the word was what, and you have on, it would be whatever. My daughter says whatever, So it would make something definite, indefinite by adding on to it. There's some other things it does, but we'll do that when we get into further down the road. You want to try this word right here?
On air.
On air, correct, good. And here's the genitive form, andros. Or andros, either way. We have the ha. So on air, do you know what that means?
Well, we're back to man again.
Okay, man, and there's one other option. It's either man or husband.
Okay, husband.
One of the two. So context will have to determine whether you're talking about a man or a husband.
Husband.
Okay, so there's the nominative form, singular, andros, the genitive form, and then ha. What about this word? Can you recognize this word?
Yeah, church, ecclesia.
Ecclesia. Well, its actual meaning is assembly. And that's important to know. It really means assembly. Now, the context almost oftentimes will tell you that it's referring to the church. And so the Bibles will say church, but it's referring to the assembly that is the church. Now, that's important to know because I think it's in Acts 19 when the mob takes Paul into the amphitheater well, that same word here is ecclesia, referring to the mob. Ecclesia, referring to the mob. Well, it's the assembly, but there it's not the church; it's the mob. So the point is ecclesia means assembly. The context determines whether it's a church or a mob or something of that nature. Does that make sense?
Well, they at first, when they were first starting out the vocabulary, they were translating as the church or a church or some church. But yeah.
What does the vocabulary word have in our book? I think it has assembly. I hope it does. I think it does. It does got a church or the church and assembly or congregation. So those are the options. Yeah.
Yeah.
It refers to assembly, but it's often in the context. That's the key. The context is referring to the assembly is the church, and so they put that there. Can you say this word?
El Pris.
El Pis.
El Pis.
El Pis. El Pidos. Hey. You know what it means?
El Pis would be hope.
Very good. Very good. What about exo?
Without or
Okay.
not.
Yeah, I'm trying to double check something real quick. Yeah, as an adverb, it functions as without, but it can also function as a preposition. It's not not one of our normal prepositions, but then it means outside. Uh, Not much different. So, what about epi?
A key.
Okay,
Uh, that that can be one of, well, genitive, dative, or accusative,
correct.
but it would be on, and then depending on whether you're in genitive, dative, or
Right.
accusative, what
It,
other in
right. It's best to learn this as three different vocabulary words because epi is one of those words that has a long, long history. And it can function and govern the genitive form. And so when it's in governing the genitive, in other words, the nouns take the genitive case. It would be translated as on, over, or when. And if it's governing the dative case, then it would be on or the basis of or at. In the accusative case, it'd be you translate it on, to, or against. And so it's almost easier to learn as three different words. Now you'll see ep written also as ep with the apostrophe, and you'll also see it with f with the apostrophe. And the difference is that when the when it comes up against a vowel,
right, you drop that vowel.
You drop this vowel, and you right. And so, and I'm trying to remember what the FE is. I can't remember now. It begins, when it comes up against a rough breathing, a word with a rough breathing, like harmatia, well, then the Greek don't like to pronounce the FE with another word that has a rough breathing. So it will change the P to a phi, and to make it easier to pronounce it as they read through it. So so you'll see epi, ep, or f, and normally f is when it precedes a word with a rough breathing. Ep is when it precedes a word with a vowel. So,
yeah. I think I have made an error when I made up my cards. They're all white.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you mentioned it or if I found it in a book, but there was a suggestion maybe to make different colors, like maybe make the white, genitive, and then a blue card dative and a red card accusative for the same word.
Right.
And then you could, because I often say the word and I get it in one of them, but I forget the other two are there.
Right. Right. It takes a while to, I guess, to recognize and remember, and it just takes practice. The color coding would certainly help you. I don't think that was one of my recommendations, but I'll remember that. I might make a recommendation. I'll look at it. Let's move on for time's sake. Hey, Mace. Now, here's a personal pronoun. Is it first or second? We just learned it tonight. Although
it would be first. It would be we.
Very good. It's we because it's first person because it's the hey with the eta, and it's hey Mace is the nominative form, so that would be in the plural we. Correct. And then thelema or thelematos ta. You know what thelema means?
Like will, but not. I don't take it as I will as much as my will.
It's more like desire.
Or does
So more like what I will to do, what I desire, or what I desire to have, or what God wills. So the thelema is in the nominative, and the thelematos. There's my tau for third declension. It's a consonant stem ending, so the tau dropped off in the nominative form. That goes right there. But it fell off because now Rule 8 says it cannot stand at the end of a word. So it dropped off, but I see it back in my genitive form with my omicron sigma for the genitive and third declension. And it's neuter because I'm dealing with ta. So it is a thelema, thelematos, ta, a neuter third declension word, meaning will or desire. You're correct. A day?
Behold.
Right, see or behold. You'll see that quite often. Ado. Same thing, see or behold. Two different words meaning the same thing. We do that often in English. Ede, ado, is see or behold. Ede is only used 29 times. Ado is behold. You see it often used over 200 times, I think. I don't know why I got a capital kappa here, but
Kalos.
Or kalos, kale, koan. So this is an adjective. I know it's an adjective because there's my masculine singular, there's my feminine. Oh, stop that. And there's my neuter. So what does kalos mean? You remember?
Good.
Or good or beautiful, right? And then meter.
Got that.
Metros, hey.
I can get this one in father, but that brother throws me all the time. Now, this is mother.
This is mother, right? Okay. And then we get to, let's see, did I skip one? Okay, ude.
Oh, yeah, this is another one. Is that water?
Well, this is really two words combined. This is where they, u is from the word not, and de, it can mean but or and. And so when they combine them, typically it would mean something like and not, or not even, or neither, or nor. So u is from not, and de is from but or and. And so typically we'll say and not, or neither, or not even, something like that type of thing. And you already know pater or patros ha is father. And pistis, pisteos, or hey, or hey.
Faith.
Right, faith or belief. Right, and this is the noun form of it. There's an adjective form of it, pistos, but we'll do that another day. If we hadn't already, I don't remember. Hudor, hudatos, ta.
Yeah, water.
Water. And then here we go. First or second personal pronoun.
This is the second
right,
personal pronoun, and it's plural.
All right, and is this going to be, how would you translate that?
Is you.
Yeah, you plural. So down south we'd say y'all, but you.
Southern Greek.
Southern Greek, that's it. Phos, photos, ta, or photos, ta.
Yeah, like photon, light.
Very good, exactly right. And then charis, wait a minute, there you go. Charis, caritas, hey.
Grace.
Right.
Favor.
Right. Hodeh.
Here.
Very good. Well, that's it for tonight. George, you when you can, you're going to have to really get the homework going, and then we'll pick up from there. But I've enjoyed it. Hopefully, you feel like you're getting there.
Oh, it's still Greek to me, but.
Well, it's still Greek to me too. But that's the good news. That's a good thing. It's Greek to me.
Yeah, but I'm going to go back and change all these cards to different colors so that I'm not forgetting these words that have meanings in the different genitive accusative forms, so that because I look at something and I say it, but then I look over on the backside and it is it's got other forms there that and it's just taken. I think by changing the cards, it'll come faster because of that.
Well, whatever works for you. I appreciate you, and tell Kathy we're praying for her, and we'll get back together next week. If you have any questions or anything comes up in the middle and in between, just send me a note, and we'll try to get to it. Okay.
Homework.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Next slide. That's right. Thank you so much. Homework. Well, exercise 11, the parsing, the warm-up, and the even number translations, which is the same thing we've been doing. And then read chapter 12, which deals with the third-person pronouns.
Okay.
So that's really all we need to have ready for. Chapter 12, third-person pronouns are really I'll show you the pattern. It's very much the exact same pattern as we've already done with nouns, with the Omicron, Sigma, the Eta, and the Omicron nu endings for masculine, feminine, and neuter. But third-person pronouns have gender. So first, masculine, feminine, and neuter, where first and second do not. And that's really the difference between them. And so third person will be he, she, or it type of thing. So we'll touch on that. Shouldn't be any real difficulties. We'll follow the same pattern and go from here.
Okay.
All right. Appreciate it.
You have a good week.
You too. Thank you. And y'all be careful. And whoever user is, thank you for coming on. If you got any questions, just send me a call, an email, or whatever, and we'll work it from there.